Let's fire 'em up.
All right, welcome everybody. This is a Triggered Podcast. I'm your host, as you know, Randy Haskell. And you guys know me. You can find me on Countryside Vlogs on YouTube or Countryside Vlogs on Instagram. This here is Billy, as you guys all know, and you guys have been following me for a long period of time. This is Billy. If you guys watched the podcast intro, I had said to you in that intro that I'm going to be doing interviews with people, and it's not going to be like your standard lawn care podcast where everybody is kind of interviewing the lawn care professional of the company and, just in general, who are you, what do you do, all this and that. I'm picking specific topics to discuss with individual people, so it's all going to come down to whatever I pick for that individual, and that's what the podcast will be about. So it'll be more structured, but at the same time, nothing I do, and I don't think I even mentioned this in the intro, nothing I do is scripted. I don't want it to be scripted. I don't want it to be a play-by-play. I just want it to be relaxed, kick back, kind of fun, just screwing around, BSing, laughs, just kind of maybe veer off topic every once in a while, but nothing is scripted. That being said, I do have a list of a few questions here for Billy, and I just took that from over the last 2 years of Billy working with me. Stuff that people have asked quite frequently in the videos about Billy, or questions they said, hey, ask Billy this, or tell him to cover this in a video, and we just never really got to a lot of that stuff. A lot of people I never really thought about it by the next video, but we'll just do a quick recap. This is my son. His name is Charlie. We call him Billy in the videos. Everybody knows him as Billy, and that's a long-standing joke from a long time ago. But he has been with me, let's see here, 2019 was his first season with me. He worked half a year with me, and then he went to GIU with me last year. A lot of you guys met him there, and we had plans and everything already booked to go back for 2020, but that never happened with COVID. As you guys know, it was canceled. So he this year, because school let out when COVID happened, he was with me from day one, in the springtime right on through, and he's been with me right until a few weeks ago when they went back to school. They're only going a couple days a week though, so he is still with me Thursdays and Fridays, and then if we work on the weekends, which thank God for that this week, because I am like a day and a half behind, almost 2 days behind in mowing right now. This week, because we've just had endless rain that we definitely could have used about a month ago. But so he's been with me a lot. He when he started off with me, he said that he was turning. Actually, you're 15 now. You just turned 15 in June. So you wanted to. You were turning 14. You said, I got 2 years before I can drive, and I want to buy a truck. So I said, all right, well, I got a job for you, because I'm not just going to buy you a truck. So. And he was all for it and ready to work. I had him trimming with me, and that only lasted for about a week, and he wanted to try mowing. So most people do not adapt to walker mowers very well. It's usually the hardest mower for people to figure out how to ride, and he jumped on it, and he picked up the walker like it was nothing. I mean, he took right to it, and the kid is now just a beast on the walker. But I'm slowly converting him to standers. He still loves his walkers, as do I, as you guys know. But he is definitely going in the direction of standers, just because with being on walkers, they just have no suspension. His lower back is, after being on him for hours and hours every day, day in and day out, he's starting to develop some lower back issues, which I'd rather get him off there and on the standers before it gets too bad. I don't want him developing these back issues at an early age. I mean, they're going to come in this industry without a doubt, but I just don't want it to be a permanent thing for him. So I've rattled on enough. I have a few questions, and I guess we'll just kind of start off with a couple of them questions just to get it going here, and we'll see where this goes. Like I mentioned in the intro, I'm going to keep my podcast at an hour or under. A lot of people get them way up over an hour and a half, 2 hours, some are even longer than that. But I'd like to keep them, within a reasonable amount of time. So we are 4.5 minutes into this thing already. So let's start off with a question here right off the bat for Billy, and let's see what he has to say. kind of putting him on the spot here, but this isn't live, and he knows it can be edited just like the videos we do. So he's maybe he won't be as nervous. But first off, what made you want to get into lawn care? Other than, like I just mentioned, it was about, you said that you wanted to start saving. You knew you were going to be 16 in 2 years, and you didn't want to turn 16 and then figure out how you were going to get a vehicle, a truck, as you have requested. And you've looked at many since then, and you're kind of set on a Tundra right now. But other than that, what made you decide to? Because even before that, you were trying to hop on the mowers in the yard to try to get me to let you ride them around the yard. And even before it came about, you actually working with me, you were interested in the mowers already. So tell us about that. Tell us what made you want to get into lawn care.
Well, mainly watching you and you watching Brian, Shane, and a bunch of others on TV. I liked watching like how the equipment works and seeing a bunch of mowers, and they were getting more technical and bigger. And obviously, as like a kid, you like big trucks and big equipment and that. And so I liked watching you mow lawns and getting into mowing and stuff like that.
That's cool. Well, he said, like he said, getting into the equipment and things like that, and technical and how they work. And as you guys know, I'm such a huge proponent on maintenance, and I believe if you own a lawn care company or any company that revolves around equipment, you would better at least learn how to do the basic maintenance on that, or you'll go broke fast. And we've discussed this, and we've seen this a lot, and different things that we've done on the mowers over the last couple of years that I've showed you and taught you. And I showed you, like, look at this part here was $200, but if I went to a dealer, it was not only $200 for that part, but they're going to mark it up, so it's probably around $400, and then they're going to charge you a shop labor rate, which could go anywhere from 75, I've seen it, an hour, up to over 100. So you're probably, instead of the couple $100 we just spent to buy this part and a little bit of our time, you'd be paying $600, $700, $800 to have this fixed at a dealership. So that's been a big thing for him as well. He wants to know not only how to mow them and operate them, he wants to know how they work, and what, how to fix them. And he's anytime I'm fixing something, he's right there, trying to look. Sometimes getting in my way, but
Sometimes.
it's not so much getting in my way, because I'm just more excited that he likes to learn, which is, I'm a huge proponent on helping people and teaching people things, but I'm not that dad like all the memes go. It said, I can handle anybody yelling at me. I used to hold a flashlight for my dad, that old long-standing joke. But I'm usually the guy, when I see somebody doing something, I'm the guy that usually stops it and be like, just let me do it, just let me do it. So it's a learning experience for me too, with him wanting to learn this stuff. So me and just sitting back and just letting him try to do it at first before I step in and be like, okay, this is what you should do. So I mean, that's a big part of it, and I don't know where he plans on going with this business, or if he plans on taking my business over one day, or what he plans on doing, which we're going to get into that in a little bit. But I want him to know this stuff, so that he doesn't have to come to me for every little thing. He can just fix basic stuff on his own when the time comes. So let's get into, we're going to get into a couple questions here. I got a series of 3 different questions, and they all kind of correlate, they all relate to each other, but they're questions that I know everybody wants the answers to from you, because it's come up so many times in videos, and people sending me messages. So we're gonna get into those. What do you like best about the walker? Since the walker was the first mower you went to, and right after you started mowing for me, I tried to put you on that right stander that we had bought and quickly sold, but that's a story for another time. But I had tried to put you on that right stander, and you're like, nope. And we were mowing the fire hall, one of our big properties, and it's wide open, straight line. So I said, this is the place to do it. They're not going to care if you leave a few turn marks here, this and that, and it's wide open. There's nothing you can hit. And he quickly wanted to go right back to the walker. So walkers are your thing, and everybody at Walker, they know you, they love you, they think you hung the damn moon. So they gave you the Billy box at GIE last year with, I think, one of everything they sell in their merchandise store.
That shelf back there.
Yeah, and me and Brian Shane, who probably put out more Walker videos than anybody on the planet. Yeah, there you go. One of the sweatshirts they gave you. and Richie Plemons has done a lot for them as well.
Yep.
And we didn't get any of that stuff, but they had a Billy box for you, which we were very grateful for. The folks at Walker are amazing, amazing people. Just very, very good, down home, family oriented people. So, all right. So about the Walkers, what's your you were drawn right to them right off the bat. So what do you love about the Walkers, especially now that you have experience running other ones and you can compare, you know,
Yeah.
to other mowers? What's your favorite thing about the Walkers?
My favorite thing about the walkers would have to definitely be the deck.
Yeah.
The following the contour of the ground and not when you're mowing along and maybe there's a little groove in the ground, it doesn't going across leave like a bunch of little spots picking up. It goes right across, follows through the contour, and when you're going over hills, it keeps going and it just follows the ground and it leaves an amazing cut. In my opinion, nothing compares to the cut of the walkers.
That's true. Well, and you can definitely see that now because I explained to you when you first started riding it. I said you're gonna feel weird because when you go up and down and
Yeah,
like
it's like
little
riding a roller
swales,
coaster.
you're gonna feel it moving. It's gonna feel like your feet are picking up off the deck, and it's gonna feel weird to you. But I said that's what it's designed to do. It's supposed to do that. So, which you know, and I'm gonna do a podcast in one of these days coming up here that's gonna be specifically on Walker mowers because there's so many common misconceptions, which I've done videos relating exactly to that. But we're going to cover that in particular. How it follows the contour of the ground is what totally wipes out the main common misconception with Walker mowers is that they are designed for prestigious, flat, smooth, manicured lawns. It couldn't be further from the truth because that deck is designed to handle those shit lawns, so to speak, that, you know, for lack of a better term, that are up and down and all over so that you don't have to go back with a weed whacker and feather it in. But now that you've ridden other mowers, I mean, we don't have sit down zero turns anymore. I sold the last one that I had to Uncle Ryan before you even started mowing with me. So, but you did ride them at GIE. But as far as mowing, you've ridden a lot of standers now. So you see now that when you go down through a dip and you come up, as soon as them front wheels start to come up, it pulls that deck up with it, so it leaves that grass. And I explained to you before. I said now that you've ridden the walker so much, and you know we have select properties when he's with me. He'll usually mow the backyard, and I'll mow the front, or vice versa. So we both mow the same part of that property every week. You know, we change up once in a while, but majority of the time it's the same every week. So now that you've seen, you know, you mow it with a stander and then you mow it the following week with a walker, I mean, you see that difference because you're like,
It's
wow, when you mow it with
completely
a
different.
stander, it looks smooth, but when you mow it with a walker, you can see all the hills in the yard and
Yeah,
because it follows it. So
it's completely different.
it does.
Following ground and
It just leaves that cleaner cut.
yeah.
It just looks different. Totally looks completely different. All right, so what do you like best about standers? Now that you've ridden, we'll just cover this real quick because let's see here. I was done with all the Great Danes I'd picked up and redone and then sold off whatever before you had started with me. So where did you start off? You probably started off with that Wright Sport X I had,
Yeah.
and then
Hustler.
Hustler sent us that demo unit. Thanks to Niagara Lawn and Garden. Which I've mentioned a million times. Anybody that's in my area that watched me, I mean, they're hands down the best dealer. I use another one called Middleport Tractor for all of my walkers. They're just the best people. The Jim Payne, the owner of it, he's him and his family. They're just the best, and I won't go anywhere else for my walker mowers. But for everything else, I've always used Niagara Lawn and Garden, which I still use to this day. And but so they sent a Steve from Niagara Lawn Garden hooked that up for me with that Hustler, and we got to demo that. So he started off with the Wright Sport X, and then we went to the Hustler. We had that for a week or so, ran that around, and then the Toro Grandstand, and then this year we bought the Skag V Ride 2. So I'll just ask you in general, what you don't pick a specific mower because we're going to cover each one of the mowers in particular because that's another thing that's popped up each time. Well, what did Billy think about this one? What did Billy think about that one? Will he like this one more than that one? And so on and so forth. So we're going to cover each one of them briefly, but just in general, what do you like about standers? Because at first, when I told you I want you to start hopping on these and get used to them, because then you may be on a walker for a day and then a stander. Or you do these two properties with a walker, and next two properties I want you on a stander. That way you're not sitting down constantly and putting that impact on your lower back. So I kind of pushed you into getting on these standers
Yeah.
and find something you like about them, or at least getting used to them to where you can switch it up. So so I guess I kind of forced that one on you. So
Yeah.
now you're more often than not he goes right for the stander. So what do you like about the standers? What's your favorite thing about that?
Probably how it doesn't put any stress on really any part of your body much. It's nice and soft when you hit bumps, and I like how easy it is to get on and off. So if you are going on a hill and it maybe you start to slide and you start to roll, you can jump off quick. One thing that I like more about the walker is that you can get off, so if you're on a hill, you don't go tipping with the mower.
You can bail out when
And
you need to.
yeah, tuck and roll.
Tuck and roll, Grandma. Tuck and roll.
And yeah, pretty much how easy it is to get on and off. Doesn't put a toll on pretty much any part of your body.
What about our commercial properties? What's the best part of being on a stander for our commercial properties?
um,
All the trash.
oh yeah, trash getting up to pick up all the garbage that people think it's a good idea to just throw trash out their car as they're going down the street.
And that's a big thing, and I've mentioned this before in videos, is that, I mean, sometimes on a commercial property, and I'll be the first to admit, anybody that says they've been in lawn care long enough that doesn't do this, you're full of shit, because plain and simple, we've all done it. You're on a big commercial property, and there might be a little piece of garbage here or there, and you're like, screw it, and
You
just
just
run
keep
it over.
going.
Yeah, because getting up and down off a sit-down mower, it's just tedious, and it's a whole different ball game versus you're on a stander. You just step off real quick, grab it, throw it in the trash bin, step back on, and go. And it's completely. You're much more likely to get off a piece of equipment to pick up trash or to pick up an obstacle in your way versus going around it or just running it over if you're on a stander. So, all right, let's lay it on the line, and just remember, Ed Wright is a very good friend of ours and one of the most brilliant men I've ever met in my life. He is just an amazing guy, and as far as a person, the guy would. If you were freezing in the middle of Alaska in a snowstorm and he thought you were colder than him, he would give you all his clothes and freeze and probably die to save your life. That's just the kind of person Ed Wright is. So if you guys have ever met him, I've met him, personally, and he's just an amazing person. So, but we had a lot of issues with his piece of equipment as far as what it can and cannot do up here in the Northeast. But anyway, so that was the first standard you were ever on. So once I put you on that thing and we know that you weren't a fan, I think you're about ready to give up standards for good right there until I told you, listen, they're not all the same. So was there anything that you did like, or you can even tell us your dislikes about the Wright Sport X?
One thing that I liked was the platform. The platform was really nice, and it was kind of at an angle, like tilted forward, so it kind of put your knees into the pad, so you weren't like standing straight up and down. And one thing I didn't like was it would clump a lot, and it would shoot out chunks, and you would have to go back over it at least once or twice again to break those up, or you would have to go back to get a backpack blower and break those chunks up.
And on bigger properties, that sucked because
Yeah,
you're walking.
to walk all the way
You're
back
walking
over.
all over the place to try to, with a backpack blower, walking all over the place. Walk back to the truck and then back out there to clean it all up, and that could be a real mess. And that was my issue, and you guys know I made that video. As far as the Wright mower, the thing is built like a tank. And I know everybody says every mower, I mean, that's a big common thing. Everything's built like a tank, but it truly is built like a tank. And just the controls were really nice on it, just smooth, very operator friendly. The platform was great on it, but it cannot handle these Northeast grasses. It just, like I've said many times, in the spring up here, non-fertilized lawns will grow. Say you cut it on a Thursday, you come back the following Thursday, it grows 7 to 8 inches. Like say you're cutting it down to 3 1/4, it's growing 7 to 8 inches by the time you get back the following Thursday. And you got to cut it back down to 3 1/4 again. I know there's that take a third off the 1/3 rule, and if you're a homeowner and you can cut your grass every 2 3 days, then that's fine. Do the 1/3 rule and take that much off. But in the real world about with lawn service, that shit ain't happening. It's just not a possibility. You gotta cut it way back down. So there's bagging or there's double cutting, and you need a mower that even though it's shooting out, all that grass, all that volume from cutting it down that far, you need to be able to go raise the deck up a notch or two and go over the second time and get rid of it. The grass should be completely gone. And decks, the AeroCore decks just can't do it. They just can't do it. And I guess they came out with a Northeastern baffle kit, but after what I spent on the mower, I wasn't going to go and buy that kit and go on and on. I just sold the mower. I just got rid of it. I was done with it. I was done playing. I found a couple different options, like what the high lift short tails we put on it, and it did okay after that.
They're pretty good on those.
That was about the only combination. The stock blades were absolute horrible as far as cutting in that grass. The regular high lifts didn't work. The super high lifts didn't work. I tried G5s and G6 Gator blades. Neither one of them worked. The short tail high lifts are the only thing that would even make that deck functionable up here, and it still wasn't even that great. So I sold it, and then the guy sold it too. Within 3 months, he sold it too. So I don't even know where that mower is now. But so after that, right about that time when we had the right stander, our good friend Steve from Nagarlawn and Garden got us the Hustler Super S stander. So there's some video of you on that, and actually in our regular lawn care videos, our intro shows you mowing with that thing. So what'd you think about the Hustler Super S?
I like the Hustler. It was super easy to get the deck up and down. The platform was really nice. The pad, where you lean on, that was super comfortable. The controls were really nice, and I liked the layout of where the controls were, the key and all that were.
Yeah, how'd that deck cut?
Deck cut really good. It definitely shot grass, couple passes over. Definitely, most of the time you didn't even have to go over it twice unless it was super thick, wet grass. But most of the time it just cleared it out. Didn't have to really go back over it a couple more times.
Yeah, that thing cut great, even though it was only a 48. That was the only downfall for the demo we got. It was a 48, so I was very interested to see on how. The standard for us is a 52. That's pretty much a universal deck for us. The Walker B is a 56, and what's our other deck? The other side that's a 56 too.
That's 56, and then we have the 48.
Yeah, we have the 48 collection deck on the MT. So other than the two 56-inch side discharge decks, the V-Ride 2, the Right Sport X we had, the Toro Grandstand, those are all 52s. So that's pretty much a universal size deck for us. We can knock out our big properties fairly quickly, and we can still get it in almost all of our gates. There's only a handful that we can't. So all around, that's a standard size deck for us. So I would have liked to demo one of them, but that Hustler was a really, really nice machine. I really did enjoy that machine a lot. And when I decided this year that I had to buy another stander, I got the price for the Skag V-Ride 2 and the Hustler Super S in a 52, but I couldn't get the Hustler the way I wanted it with the features I wanted with an EFI. So that's why I went with the V-Ride 2, and for other numerous reasons, which I covered all in the videos that I made on that. So that brings us to, what did we have? So then we got the Grandstand.
Grandstand.
Yeah, I bought that as
thing is.
I bought that as a nightmare that I got insanely cheap, and I put a bunch of money in it, and I made a ton of videos on that mower. And I'll tell you, I love my V-Ride 2, and you guys know how much I love my walkers. But even recently, I've had some problems. I haven't covered this in a video yet, but I had a spindle issue the other day and had to replace that, and the mower was down for a couple days. That Toro Grandstand is hands down my favorite mower. That's my go-to, my number one mower. I'd run that thing every single day. I ran it today, but that's my favorite. So, so what do you think about the Grandstand?
I like the Toro. It's a really good mower. It cuts amazing. It leaves an amazing cut. And the platform, I really like the platform, especially when you're going on hills. You can shift your feet over, put one at an angle because it comes like this and then comes up.
Mm-hmm.
So you can put your foot off to like an angle, so you're not sliding off the mower when you're on hills. The controls are very smooth, very comfortable.
What's the one thing you do not like about the grandstand?
Um,
I know what it is. And the new grandstands, by the way, aren't like this. My grandstand, I think, is 10 years old, 11 years old. The new grandstands are not like this. They've changed this feature. But the older
I
grandstands,
think I know what you're talking
and
about.
I'm
I
used
can't
to it
remember.
because my 2X Mark Vantages, which were my favorite mowers, hands down, in the past, out of all the machines that I've owned, they operate the same exact
Oh,
way. So
I know what you're talking about. The lever to pull the deck up.
yeah,
This is one of the most frustrating things. I have to stand sideways on the wheel and use my whole body just to pull it up.
yeah.
And I'm light, so that doesn't really work too
There's
well.
tension bolts on the sides that run down these long springs that you're supposed to be able to tighten them and makes it easier to lift up, and it does. And I've since in the last week and a half or so, I got the correct measurements for it, and I've adjusted them. They were off quite a bit, so it has become a little bit easier for sure. And Billy hasn't run it since then. But yeah, it's a pretty shit design, and the X Mark Vantages were identical to it, and but the new Toro grandstands are like the V Ride. The push button in and you just pull it up. It's super easy,
Yeah, that
and
one's
the deck
super
comes up
easy.
and down. But I know that's the one thing you're not a fan of. So let's get on to the newest, the V Ride 2. The V Ride 2. That's our newest one, and that's pretty much Billy's mower. You know how he took over the Walker V. He claimed that, and well, he actually wrote in the dirt on the side Billy's mower on the V Ride 2, and so now every day that we go out mowing together, especially since we're bagging now, and I've gotten the bagging system put onto it, it is it's Billy's on that, and I'm on the MT. Like every day that we mow together, because we're just bagging everything right now. For the most, there's a lot we're still mulching up, but we're bagging. Pretty much Thursdays and Fridays is when he's with me, and those 2 days is just a lot of bagging leaves. So we've been on that a lot. So what do you think about that V Ride 2?
I'm gonna say it's one of my new favorite mowers. It's an amazing mower. It leaves an amazing cut. It never clogs. It bags really nice.
Only when you try to bag leaves too fast.
Oh yeah, true.
It
That's,
does bag.
that's true.
It does bag them pretty fast. You can go pretty quick and still bag just fine with it, even with wet leaves. But sometimes Billy likes to go 100 mile an hour or nothing, and it clogs up the tube sometimes. But
I definitely like the platform. The controls are really nice. I like the what's it called, the cat's eye.
oh,
the
the Tiger Eye.
tiger eye.
Yeah,
I like that. That's
the digital
really
readout
nice.
for everything. That's definitely
Yep.
nice.
The platform is really nice. I like pulling up the deck. It's super easy. Just pressing the button, you pull up, and it comes up really easy.
Yeah, like I said, that's what Toro has gone to now too. I think everybody pretty much has gone to that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a couple features on that V Ride. So the V Ride is, and we've had everything from the advanced chute blocker from Ballard that is on the side of the spare 56 side discharge for the Walker. I think, I'm not positive, but I think that thing was made out of recycled toilet paper, and they should have left it in its current condition. That's just my opinion. That chute blocker is absolute junk. And it's completely ineffective. I mean, it does its job. It shuts it off, but it's just when you pull it up, it doesn't come all the way up. So if you have a gate you could just barely fit through, it's kind of out at an angle, so you can no longer get through that gate. And everybody has said, "Oh, you just don't have it adjusted right." Well, I watch 100 videos on how to install that thing and adjust it. Even Corey Ballard's in his father's video, and theirs are all at an angle too. So I'm just not a fan of that thing at all. We have the power chute on the Walker B, which I
Yep.
love.
That's
That
my favorite.
yeah, that power chute is awesome. And then we have the quick chute that we
Step.
had on the Right Sport, which is now on the Toro, which that's just a flawless chute blocker. That thing is awesome. But people had asked me for a couple of years, try the grass flap, and everyone said that they had endless issues with the cables breaking on it. I said that's not something I want to mess with, so I'm not doing it, and I refused to do it. And then finally, people at Grass Flap got a hold of me, and they said, listen, the only reason everyone's cables keep breaking is because for the first inch and a half or so coming out of the pedal, and the first inch and a half coming out of the flap itself, you cannot have a bend in there. If you have a bend in there, that cable will break. And they were so convincing, I guess, that it wouldn't happen if you did it the right way. So we gave it a shot, and I fell in love with it. I want it on every machine. I love it. I mean, I'm never going to take that power chute off the Walker B. That thing's, it's a toggle switch. It's all electric and just drops up and down. I even bought spare parts for it, the motor and spare toggles for it, because when I first got it, I had issues and I burned up a motor. The toggle switch took a shit. And so I bought like 2 spare motors because they're like $26 a piece, and a couple spare toggles. And now a year and a half since that, and they're all still sitting on the shelf. They haven't broke yet. So, but other than that, everything I have now, I want to have a grass flap on it. That thing is awesome. Having that foot pedal, just not even thinking about it, and you can hold it with your foot and just kind of feather it. I taught Billy that, and he does. I watch him do it all the time. You know, just kind of hold it open a little bit with your foot, and just enough to keep it open to where it's not building up inside the deck, but you're not blowing it out to whatever is in the way. So that's awesome. But you like that grass flap, right?
Yeah, that's a really nice one.
That thing's awesome, and that's the only thing I hate about going from the V-Ride to the Toro. The Toro is the old quick shoot, and I'm like, oh, you know, it's such a, it just, I don't know, it just, it makes me sound lazy, but it feels like a real pain in the ass to reach over and hit that lever for that quick shoot when you're so used to just tapping the pedal with your foot. But so now that's off there though, because we have the bagging system on, and you cannot have that on there while the bagging system's on because of the because of the turbine on the side. So, what do you think about Skag's bagging system? I mean, I've told you about the one that comes on the Toro and the design, because there's really not that many standards out there that you can get a bagging system for. I mean, Protero makes one that you pretty much put their bagging system on anything. It's universal, but other than that, there's I think Toro and Skag actually are the only 2 companies that actually make their own bagging systems for standards. So, and I've told you the differences between the 2 if you remember. So, what do you think about Skag's bagging system?
They're really nice. The the one thing I don't really like too much is that they start off wide and get narrow at
the
like
bags.
the base. Yes, the bags. The blower on the side is really nice. It just, most of the time, it doesn't really clog much unless you sometimes go a little fast.
Right.
It packs it in really nice. It doesn't just like blow it in and then it just leave like little bare spots or whatever inside. It packs in really nice.
The bag's packing good.
Yeah.
They hold a lot.
Yeah, they get really heavy though, especially if they're full and they're wet leaves.
Yeah, wet leaves. And you get some wet grass. And what he means by how the bags, they kind of taper down, I think that they were designed like that so that the theory is when you flip it upside down, once you flip them upside down, they would be narrow at the top and then wider at the bottom. You think the stuff would all fall right out. It doesn't work that way.
Not the case at all.
They've never done that. I had the 3-bag bagging system on the back of the brand new Tiger Cat that I bought that I sold to Ryan. And he ran it for 1 season. He goes, these things are shit. He goes, I'm not playing around with this. He got rid of them. Actually, he's got them behind his house. But he took that whole unit off and he ordered a clamshell for the back. And so that's what he has on that now, which you guys have seen in last year's videos. So that's what he has on there. He's like, these bags are garbage. He's like, and at that time he still had his Ferris sit-down zero turn. He's like, check these things out. They're the same size, complete square, same size all the way down. And you flip them over and instantly they just dump right out that fast. And he said, this is what they should have on these Skags. And so I'd mentioned that to Skag when we were at GIE. I said, you guys really need to change the bags. I mean, I think I understand why you made them that way, but just no good. No good. It's just a bad design for those bags. But, as far as the bagging system goes, it works great on its own. Um, a couple things that I would recommend is that, well, let me just cover this first. We just had our dealer get us a new bag because the one bag ripped at the seam like 8 inches right down the side. And in the couple years I ran the 3 bag bagging system on Tire Cat, I never had one bag ripped, and I manhandled the shit out of them things. So did the guys that had working for me. They never ripped. So, and then Ryan ran them for a year, never ripped, never an issue. For some reason, this one bag split down the side about 8 inches. So I just went and picked up the new bag from him the other day. That was rather disappointing, but anyway, the one thing that I think that Skag really should do with their bagging system is Toro. If you've ever seen Toro Grandstand's bagging system, they have this little wheel on top. You can go to Spencer's Lawn Care and watch their video they did on the bagging system when they first had it put on their machine, and you'll see it has a little wheel that sits on the top, and it goes right down to rod that goes down into the hood of the bagging system, and there's a paddle in there. It looks like if you've ever seen a paint mixer paddle wheel that you put on the end of a drill, sticking in a paint can, that's what it looks like. So as all the grass, leaves, whatever is coming up through the tube into the bagging system, it hits that and it keeps it spinning. And so when you're standing on the mower, you just look down at the top of the hood and that thing's still spinning. Once it stops spinning, that means nothing's hitting it because it's full. And then you know the bagging system is full and you can shut it down before it fills up the whole tube and clogs it out. Because if you don't, the first thing that happens is you don't notice a different pitch of the engine until that whole tube is full and it starts building up inside the deck. Then you hear the different sound of the machine. You know, okay, I'm full. You don't even start to see, some mowers you can look down and you can see you're leaving trails of stuff that's not bagging up. Then you know, okay, I'm full. You don't see that on these machines. You don't see it on the sit-down zero turns. You don't see it on the V-Ride. Once you get to the end of the pass, you look back, you might catch a little bit there and say, okay, I think I'm full. But majority of the time, you listen for the sound of that machine. That's how you know it's full. But by then, the tube's already full. So a lot of times when you lift the hood up and you dump the baggers out, you have to pull the tube off, which is just held down with a bungee where it attaches a blower. You pull that off and you smack the tube against the side and the stuff all falls right out if you didn't pack it in too much. So some type of system on there to let you know, to alert you that, hey, the bagging system is full, like Toro did. That would be the one thing that I would suggest to Skag. You think that they would make a world of difference. I think that's the one thing they need to change about their bagging system.
Yes.
So I think that pretty much covers all of the standards, right?
Yeah.
All the standards that you've been on anyway. I mean, you've ridden other ones at GIE and stuff, but Ferris.
What was it, the V3 or something?
You did a bunch of different ones at GIE. All the guys that would let you. The only people that actually kicked us out of there was Toro, because they said you weren't old enough and whatever insurance reasons or whatever, you weren't supposed to be on the machine. So they're the only ones that had asked us to get off the machines. They didn't ask us to leave. They just asked us to get off the machines. By then, we already got the footage we wanted, so it was no big deal. But everybody has their own rules, so whatever. It wasn't that big of a deal. But you rode a bunch there, but I think that's it as far as what you've actually mowed with. So that's where the real difference comes in. So now that brings us to one thing that everybody's going to want to know. And this question's popped up on a few different videos, so we might as well just ask it now. What do you prefer if you had to pick and say, the day was here and Dad was selling off everything except for 2 mowers, one for me and one for you, and you had to pick, we'll just say, well, I was going to say, what would you rather be on? Would you rather be on a stander or a walker? But I think this might just answer it. And I know for me it's hard because I have different mowers for different reasons. Everybody asks, why do you own so many mowers as a solo guy? Before you came on with me, I had gotten rid of all of our employees we had and went back to solo. And I said, well, I have different mowers for different reasons. Like my MT is for, bagging the heavy, thick stuff. The the heavy amount of leaves, the heavy grass growth in the spring, and then I have the Walker B when I just want to sit and just cut, and the thing flies and is a big deck. But then I have the stander when my back's starting to hurt being sitting down, I want to stand. So for me, it's kind of hard to just pick one over the other because I have different mowers for different reasons. But for you, if I said, hey, listen, dude, I'm selling. We have right now we have the Walker B, we have the Walker MT, which is nice because we can run the 48 collection deck and bag with, or we can open the
Or
back
the
door
56.
discharge, or we can throw the 56 on. So that's kind of a universal mower. And then we have the Skag V Ride, which we can side discharge or have the bagging system on, and we have the Toro Grandstand. So if you had to pick, if I said, hey, listen, these 4 mowers, you pick whichever one we're keeping, that's going to be your mower for the whole season, what would you pick?
That's tough. It's like a battlefield. You can't leave a man behind.
Yeah, right. It's a hard pick. Kind of putting you on the spot with that one.
I know. That's hard.
I'll tell you which one I would pick, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah,
And
you
then
do
maybe
that
that
first.
can kind of help
Yeah.
you out a little bit. So, and when it comes down to as far as running my business, if I had to pick one mower out of all 4 of my mowers that I have, I would take my Toro Grandstand. And the reason why is because I can cut dry grass. It cuts no problem. Dry grass, heat of summer, whatever. And then in the spring, I can cut heavy, thick grass. I can cut wet grass. I can clean it up on the second pass without an issue. And in the fall, that thing mulches leaves phenomenal with just regular high lift blades on. Right now, I have the X blade system on it, and it does awesome. But so I can use that mower for everything all season, every season, spring, summer, and fall. And when it comes to bagging leaves, I have the 6.2 jumbo accelerator on the side. And if I got into stuff where I had to bag, like anytime I bag with that now, I'll run over stuff and I'll mulch it up and throw the accelerator on so it doesn't fill up as fast. I just pick up the residual. But you guys have seen in the past, I did the videos on the full tarp bags I made that you can hook onto a grass catcher to bag massive amounts of leaves. So if I got in any heavy situations, I can go that route. But all around, it's a universal mower for me. If it wasn't the business and I was just a homeowner and I was selling the business, I was done with it, and I need to keep one mower for my house, the Walker MT, hands down. I wouldn't even second guess it. That would be the mower I'd want. So, but for you, for running the business, or for being in the business, and I said, hey, next year, pal, you need to pick one mower. That's going to be your mower for the year. What's Billy's mower? What are you picking? Who's the golden nugget?
It's a golden nugget.
Who's getting sent to the orphanage and who's getting adopted to stay here?
I'd take the Skag V-Ride too.
Take the V-Ride too?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's fast. It cuts good.
Really.
Platform is really
Best striping
comfortable.
mower we own, hands down.
Yeah.
The Skag's always been known for being the best striping mower
Very
without
comfortable.
a striping kit.
Very comfortable. We can mow with it, just ran like normal cutting throughout the summer and bag throughout the fall or spring or whatever. Very comfy.
I like the cut on the Skag, and it definitely does. They've done a lot of improvements since the last V-Rides, and it definitely handles wet grass pretty good. And it's because, with the right set of blades on there, and you adjust the baffle right in the front end, it'll throw grass 3 passes over like it's nothing. It definitely can fan out some grass. It doesn't do as good as the Toro, but that Turbo Force deck is just something to be reckoned with. So it doesn't do as good as the Toro, but it does very, very well. So it's definitely an awesome machine, and I have zero intentions of getting rid of it. That thing's a keeper, for sure. So we're 44 minutes in, and like I said, I like to keep these things an hour or less. So we have a couple more questions, 3 more actually, that I think are questions that based off my videos that people want to know. So we're gonna hit these real quick. So do you think that, and don't worry about what I think, you and I have already discussed this, you have no pressure to stay with me, you have no pressure to do whatever. This is, this whole you working with me is so that I can teach you work ethic. I can teach you integrity, which we've been over a number of
Yeah.
times. You do the
Yeah.
right thing even when nobody's looking. So, it's not just, nobody lives in this house. We're not going to weed whack that part over there that's a foot tall along the sidewalk. You do that shit anyway because that's what they're paying you to do, and you do the right thing. So it's just for me to teach you integrity, teach you work ethic, teach you about hard work all the way around, teach you about earning a dollar, and so that you can make some money in the process so that you can buy yourself a vehicle when you turn 16. So, and a lot of people have asked this before, is this just a stepping stone for you until you're done with high school and you'll go off to do something else? Or do you think it's something that you're going to stay with for quite a while? I mean, you're still young, and I mean, you'll change your mind 100 times. And, I doubt sometimes now whether I'll do this forever, but I'm pretty sure I will. But you'll change your mind 100 times. But right now, your frame of mind right now, what do you think?
um, to be honest, I really don't know. I really want to get into like photography, like taking pictures of like landscapes and like city buildings and stuff. I think that's really cool. That really brings an interest. Like when I see pictures of, especially one of my favorites is like sunsets, like going over hills or like
Oh yeah.
behind city buildings, seeing that like shadow come. I think that's really cool, and that's something I would definitely. I don't know if that's something I'd want to do for like a while, or just like maybe pick it up, try it, see if I like it. If not, then try something different.
Mm.
But yeah.
That's kind of funny that you would say that, and I don't think that I've ever told you this, but out of high school, I wanted to go to the Art Institute of Pittsburgh, and I applied to go there. And the reason I wanted to go there is because I wanted to go for photojournalism. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go all over the world, take pictures of stuff, and write articles on it. That was my thing. And I never heard back from them, and I was getting so frustrated. And my backup plan was the military, and I never heard anything back from them. And so I signed up for the military, did a year working with a recruiting station before I left for boot camp because I was still in high school. 27 days after I graduated high school, I left for boot camp. 3 weeks after I left for boot camp, Grandma got an acceptance letter for me, accepted the Art Institute of Pittsburgh.
Really?
Yeah, it was a real big kick in the nuts because I was already gone, already signed a contract with the government you can't get out of. So, yeah, that was what I wanted. And maybe that's why I do videos and stuff now and post pictures of stuff all the time because it's still in me and I still love it. So
Yeah.
I definitely support you on that. Okay. Well, the next question was going to be where will you take the business? Will you stay small or will you go big if you decide to stay with it? But that one really doesn't apply, and we'll address that at a later time because you don't know if this is what you're going to do. But that would have been a question if you said, "Oh no, I'm gonna stick with this and do this." But we can always address that later on. So my last and final question, and we're at about 48 minutes now. So my last and final question for you is if you had there's lots of kids that pop up on YouTube all the time. It seems like there's more kids that watch lawn care channels right now than than other lawn care people, and a lot of them we've had so many over the years tell us, thank you, you guys have encouraged me to start my business, or I'm my second, third year in business, and it's because of watching you guys and this and that. So, just based off the things that you have learned, if you had to tell somebody, and I guess I was gonna say if you had to tell young kids thinking about getting into lawn care right now, um, what would you tell them that they really need to know to just do this on a daily basis? Or it's not necessarily young kids because there could be somebody in their 20s, 30s, whatever they're thinking about getting into lawn care that have no experience in it. Now you have a couple years experience, and not just from me, but you sat down with Richie Plemons, you sat down with Brian Shane, you sat down with man, all kinds of guys. Will Rice,
Wally.
Scotty Faulkner. You sat down with, we've been with Seth, Brian's Lawn Maintenance, just a whole slew of guys. So, if you, and you've talked with all of them and they've commented on you and things like that. So what if you had to tell anybody who was thinking about getting into lawn care or any young kids that weren't sure if they could actually do the work, what would you tell people?
Um, well, from experience, it's really fun. It is. It's really thankful to work with my dad every day. Well, not every day, but on days when I'm not in school. Um, we always have fun. Definitely always have to get work done. Maybe throw in some jokes. Have fun throughout the day. Um, uh, one thing that I've seen people say before, you need like really good equipment, and you like maybe it's not something for you because hey, you don't have the money to this. Yes, you can definitely do it. Obviously, I'm really thankful being able to start off with mowers that are really good, amazing mowers and that, but you don't have to always start off with that. We see people all the time, um, guys that are older than me that start with push mowers, and I see them. We see the one guy. He's always out. There's this big property. And he's push mowing it, and
Right, the one on the corner of
yep,
Dickersville 104. Yep.
yep. I, I'm telling you, I wouldn't be doing that with the push mower, but I can tell he's definitely uh, passionate about doing it, and he's gonna work for it. He's gonna try, but that's what you gotta do. You gotta keep going, and some days you don't want to go out to mow, but in your head, hey, I have to do this because if I don't, then how am I gonna feed myself? How am I gonna afford my bills? Obviously, I don't have to worry about that because
That's
I
right.
kind of.
That's right. 'Cause somebody feeds you. Somebody pays your bills, your cell phone bill, and I mean, any of you guys have been following us on YouTube for a period of time, you know the long-standing joke that we go out mowing during the day, and I don't eat in the morning, but usually protein shake and coffee, and I'm out the door, and I don't eat till like 10, 11 o'clock. But by the time I reach in the cooler, there ain't shit in there but a spinning spoon, and that's it. Because Billy over here has already mowed everything down. I really should just screw a trough to the dashboard, and just fill it with food, and just let him all day long, and just pound it down. But I'm sorry, keep going. I just had to hop in there for a minute about the food.
Yeah, about the food. Yeah, but you don't need the best equipment to start. As long as you are passionate about doing it and you are willing to keep going. Yeah, maybe like you have a push mower, but don't think that you can't do it just because you have a push mower and you see everyone else with standers and sit downs, for example, walkers. You don't think that you can't do that just because you don't have that type of equipment. You can still do it with just maybe one backpack blower, a weed whacker, and a push mower. Get yourself started. Keep going. Your first year will probably be tough, but as long as you're trying, and you'll start picking up more accounts, the more that people see you out, like they'll see you and they'll be like, oh, that guy, he has a push mower. I see him out there every week. He's there on time. He is going to mow that, and he's leaving an amazing job. And then those people will see you doing that, and then you'll start picking them up and just keep going with it. And then you'll just get bigger and bigger. Maybe you don't want to get big. Maybe you don't want to have a bunch of employees. You can be just a solo guy, which that's definitely fine. You don't need to be a big company to be successful. You can just be yourself and do your own thing, and don't worry about what other people say. If someone says, hey, you got a push mower, you're not going to make it anywhere in life. Well, guess what? Go mow those lawns, get better,
That's right.
be yourself, and then pass those guys. Show them that you are better, you are good, and that just because you had a push mower, guess what? Now you're passing those people. Those people that were doubting you, you're passing them in life. You're being better than them, and they're now then they'll look at you and be like, oh man, guess I should have made fun of that guy. Now he's
Building yourself up. New
building
equipment
himself.
breaks too, all the time.
Yeah, definitely.
All the time. If you're working it, it can and will break. It's not if, it's when.
It's when.
That's exactly. And what do I tell you all the time? What other people think about you is what?
Doesn't matter.
None of your damn business.
None of your
What other
business.
people think about you is none of your business. And I've said this a million times in videos, and I've said it to them a million times. Your biggest competition is yourself. Don't worry about what any of them people do. There's companies around here that are 10 times the size of me. You know what? They have 10 times the anxiety I have. They have 10 times the payments I have.
Stress.
They have 10 times the freaking, some of these guys are home at night reading Don't Shoot Myself books. They're just losing their freaking mind. Trust me, I had all them employees. I was a glorified freaking babysitter. I had some really, really good guys working for me, but I had some total shitbags too. So, being bigger isn't always better, but you start off somewhere. I started with a skag walk behind a Roscoe found for me dirt cheap.
Your old
on
dinosaur.
Craigslist. Yeah, belt drive with no Velky, no sulky, and I walk behind that thing. You have mayonnaise ass till your first hour in, and you're dealing with it all day long. The time will come. The time will come. So, just stick it out. It's all about discipline, right? Discipline yourself. Don't worry about what other people think about you. What other people think ain't none of your damn business. You just keep doing what you do, and like Billy said here, eventually you'll pass them. You'll go right past them. It's the old saying: first they'll mock you, then they'll wonder how you did it, then they'll envy you, and that's how it's going to happen. So, do your thing. So that's it. We're in 55 minutes. We're going to cut this thing off here. I figured, I'm getting in this podcast thing. Why not make the first one with Billy? This is my little sidekick here, and everybody asks all these questions for him anyway. And we've never actually had a sit down like this. I mean, we're in the videos together all the time, but we've never had a sit down like this. So here it is, right? My man.
That was a horrible, horrible fist bump.
You're the one that screwed the fist bump up.
I'm a lot stronger than you,
You ain't
buddy.
stronger than nothing. What are you talking? You don't even know what
What is this? Look, my fist has stayed like this. Yours is going.
Because you have these
Snapping-
tiny little bones in
Snapping your wrist because you're.
You have these tiny little
have no
bones in
muscle
your little
there.
hand.
Yeah, but look. Hunter.
See you later, son. Oh, where did Billy go? Billy's gone. What happened, Billy? I
Tipping
love
over
this
my
kid. I
chair.
love this kid. All right, guys. We will see you in the next one.